Hello, welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines we're tracking for you this evening. A positive start to the week on the DStreet mid-cap index rises for the 11th straight day, ending at a record high. Nomura says the Indian economy is set for the best decade of growth since 2010. Crude oil prices rise after Saudi Arabia announces voluntary production cut by 1 million barrels per day starting July. The move comes after OPEC nations made no changes to planned oil production on Sunday. The new CII President R. Dinesh expects the Monetary Policy Committee to hit pause this week, but calls for a change in stance from withdrawal of accommodation to neutral. Expects GDP growth to touch 7.5% this fiscal. That's a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. The CFO of Hindustan Unilever, Ritesh Tiwari, expects volumes to drive growth in the second half of the fiscal, says the company has cut prices of soaps, detergents and shampoos as commodity prices have started to ease. That's another exclusive this evening. Popular cough syrups pulled off the shelves after the government bans 14 fixed-dose drug combinations. These include pediatric syrups that contain opioid pain reliever codeine. Industry sources say products worth 500 crore rupees have been impacted. Civil Aviation Minister Scindia takes stock of rising airfares post the Go First grounding, urges airlines to keep a rational approach while fixing fares, asks them to increase capacity in sectors with higher demand. The Railway Board calls for a CBI investigation into the Odisha train derailment that left 275 people dead and 900 injured. More than 50 hours after the collision, passenger trains resume operations on restored tracks. Sakshi Malikkh, Vinesh Phogat and Bajrang Punia, wrestlers at the forefront of the protest against Federation Chief Brij Bhushan Singh, meet Home Minister Amit Shah. Sakshi Malikkh rejects reports that they have withdrawn from the ongoing protest, tweets that they will not back down till justice is delivered. The wrestlers had met Home Minister Amit Shah over the weekend. IIT Madras remains India's top-ranked educational institute for the fifth time. Indian Institute of Sciences in Bengaluru emerges as the best university, followed by Delhi's JNU and Jamia Millia Islamia. Delhi University's Miranda House emerges as the top college. This as per the Union Ministry of Education's latest rankings. Apple could be on the cusp of revealing its biggest bet since the iPhone. The company is likely to launch mixed reality headsets and enter the metaverse in what is potentially the riskiest bet under CEO Tim Cook. Also on the show, we kick off our new series on the rise in cybercrime and how you can protect yourself. A special report on how India's growing pawn shop for online shopping is being exploited by sophisticated fraudsters. That's coming up. Well, let's start with the day's market action. The sensex gaining 240 points and the Nifty added 60 points. Despite some profit booking in late trade, the Nifty is now closer to the 18,600 mark. The mid-cap index did gain, and it gained for the 11th straight session, ending at a record closing high. The Nifty Bank Index also managed to gain in trade. Brokerage firm Nomura expects India's economy to grow at a compounded annual growth rate of 6.6% from financial year 23 to 2030. This will mark the strongest pace of growth since 2010. Nomura is betting on reforms and higher capital expenditure to be the growth drivers. The brokerage firm believes India is in a sweet spot and is emerging as a leading beneficiary of the shifts in global supply chains. The 6.6% growth rate predicted by Nomura will be slightly slower than the pace of growth clocked between 2003 and 2010. Now, crude oil prices on the rise after Saudi Arabia announced voluntary production cuts from July. This decision comes after an OPEC meeting on Sunday where all nations agreed to make no change to the planned oil production. Manisha is standing by with more on Saudi Arabia's decision and how it will impact oil prices. Manisha.
It's been a strong day for the crude oil prices, and that has been on the back of a very strong OPEC and allies meeting. Remember, it started 2 hours late. It went on for 7 hours, and there was a lot of quota discussion that we saw happen here. But the major lead clearly came in from Saudi Arabia, which has pledged additional cuts going forward. So what Saudi Arabia has done is that it has taken a lion's share. 500,000 barrels per day is what they're going to continue to cut until the end of next year as well. And 1 million barrels per day of a total cut is what they will do in July. Now, this is a month which is strong in sense of summer driving demand, in sense of US, and this is a month that actually could be looking at a deficit as well. So from nearly 10 million barrels per day of an output in the month of May, the Saudi Arabia now will be producing 9 million barrels per day in the month of July. So July is seen as a bullish month by various investors and banks, and this is a month that you could be looking at support as well. Coming to OPEC and allies, well, they had cut 2 million barrels per day in the month of October, and they added 1.66 million barrels per day in the month of April. So currently, OPEC and allies are cutting 3.66 million barrels per day every day in the month of May until December 2023. What they will also do is that they will add another output cut of 1.4 million barrels per day from January 2024. Now, this is exactly what the markets are reading into. If this cuts continue on, then you could be looking at deficit in the third and the fourth quarter as well. But what really has worked in nullifying this is that even as Saudi Arabia and OPEC and allies are looking at these output cuts, but some countries like Russia, Nigeria and Angola will actually be increasing production. And UAE actually is looking to increase production to 3.22 million barrels per day. So we are actually looking at this adjustment of quotas that OPEC and allies have done, and is the reason you haven't seen 80 come back in your screens already. Now, with nearly 3 million barrels per day of a deficit that the markets are looking at for the month of July is going to be quite positive. But going forward, ahead of that, if, as Saudi Arabia has said, that if the prices continue to see further decline or if the demand does not pick up, then they would be looking at further output cuts beyond July as well. Market also will watch out for the Chinese demand coming back. If that happens, then you could be looking at crude prices seeing some support. But at this point in time, clearly, all eyes on the US Fed meeting, which is on 13th and 14th of June there. Prices could gain up by nearly between $1 to $6 a barrel is what Goldman Sachs also says, only if the Chinese demand comes back. So from here, it's not a sell call. There definitely is a support that has come in for the crude oil price. $70 to $72 per barrel is a strong support on the lower side. Upside clearly depends on the kind of demand that we will foresee going forward.
Manisha, many thanks for joining us. Back to macros. India's services activity remained robust in May despite a slight drop compared to April. India's service sector purchasing managers index of 61.2 marked the second highest print in 13 years. The service sector accounts for over 50% of India's GDP. R. Dinesh, the new president of the Confederation of Indian Industry, expects the RBI Monetary Policy Committee to continue to hit pause when they announce their rate decision later this week. In an exclusive conversation with CNBC-TV18, Dinesh said he expects the RBI to announce a change of stance from accommodation withdrawal to neutral. At least that's CII's hope. The CII president also said that the central bank can look at rate cuts once inflation eases to 4.5%. Take a look. Ahead of the last policy, CII had put forward a request to the MPC, to the Reserve Bank, to decouple and pause. And perhaps the Reserve Bank heard what you had to say, because there was a pause. It was a hawkish pause, but of course the commentary suggests that things may change. I don't want to preempt what the MPC is likely to do on the 8th of June. But what is the expectation on that front as far as rates are concerned? Do you expect the pause to continue? By when do you expect or hope that we could perhaps be prepared, be ready for perhaps even cuts?
Yeah, so I think if you look at it, we are definitely saying that we want the pause to continue. But the stance to, as you said, to change from hawkish to neutral, and that, of course, that is more helping the perception of what the future is going to be. And I think the RBI governor, when we recently met, was very clear in saying that he is obviously not the deciding person, but what happens at the ground level, especially with inflation, is going to be the important factor. I think from CII's perspective, we do understand and we believe that inflation has to be kept in check. And right now, we see all the right signals coming from not just from the market, but also from our survey, which we did with our CEOs. But having said that, the target he has set for himself is 4.5%. And therefore, we have to wait and watch and see by October that it comes to that level or below that level. Then we can look at a reduction in interest.
And you can catch the full interview with CII President R. Dinesh on Newsmaker at 6 p.m. right here on CNBC-TV18. The monsoon in Kerala has been delayed by 3 to 4 days. In a statement, the Indian Met Department has said that while it predicted that the monsoon would hit Kerala by the 4th of June, it now anticipates a further delay. On to a CNBC-TV18 exclusive. Hindustan Unilever CFO Ritesh Tiwari expects volumes to drive growth in the second half of this fiscal. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, Tiwari also said that the FMCG major has cut prices of soaps, detergents and shampoos as commodity prices have begun to ease. Shilpa Ranipeta is standing by with the key highlights from that conversation. Shilpa, take us through what HUL CFO had to say.
Well, the growth slowdown in the FMCG industry, especially in rural, is now bottoming out. Now, that's the word that's coming in from HUL CFO Ritesh Tiwari, and he attributes this mainly to commodity prices and overall inflation cooling off. And therefore, volumes will start leading growth now from the second half of this fiscal.
For FMCG business overall market, long period, look at last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, growth typically comes 2/3 from volume and 1/3 from price. Yeah. Given the amount of inflation that we had seen for last 1.5 to 2 years' time, growth has been led by pricing. What will change going forward as commodities are tapering off? We are seeing sequential declines as well in many large commodities. Price will taper off, and going forward, the growth will be volume-led. Within the flat volume, urban is growing by 3%, rural is still declining by 3%.
Now, remember, for the past 6 quarters, volumes have actually been on a declining trend, and the FMCG growth came from price increases. But this price growth component will now start tapering off, HUL said, and now the direct benefit here for consumers is that HUL has taken price cuts and in some cases increased grammage in its soaps, detergents and shampoos, and consumers will start seeing reduced prices in the months to follow. But the reason why volume recovery will actually take another 2 quarters at least is because the benefit of lower inflation and therefore price cuts takes some time to reach consumers.
Large part of price cut, I would say we have started invoicing, we have put in the market, but as I mentioned, it's always a trade pipeline. By the time consumers experience that, it takes few more months.
Correct.
So we have done large part of the price decreases because commodities have come off, but consumers should take, in my view, a few more months for them to fully experience the price cuts that we have done.
Now, another important takeaway from the interview is that apart from health and well-being, which is a category that it recently forayed into, HUL is now eyeing the mastige beauty segment for acquisitions. Now, this is a segment that sits just above the premium. So that's about a 250 price point, and that's where acquisitions are going to, most probably HUL will be eyeing for acquisitions. Back to you.
All right, Shilpa, many thanks for joining us. That's commentary coming in from HUL. More corporate news. Infosys CEO Salil Parikh's compensation fell by 21% in the financial year 23. The tech giant has attributed the decline to Parikh's exercising fewer restricted stock units as well as a change in Infosys' bonus plan. Civil Aviation Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia has urged airline executives to keep a rational approach before fixing prices. Scindia had convened the meeting to take stock of skyrocketing airfares post the Gophers grounding. He's also asked airlines to increase capacity in sectors with higher demand. We will head into a break, but up next, a special report on how India's growing obsession for online shopping is being exploited by sophisticated fraudsters. That and more when we return.
CNG is good, but to get something, you have to give up something.
It's CNG!
Big boot, big appeal, big reaction. OMG! It's the Altroz iCNG.
दुनिया में कुछ लोग कहते हैं और कुछ लोग करते हैं। जब कहा गया देश में सोलर पावर सफल नहीं हो सकता, तो हमने सुना नहीं, उसे सफल कर दिखाया। कहा देश का सबसे बड़ा पावर प्लांट बनाना इम्पॉसिबल, तो हमने पॉसिबल कर दिया। बोला कोने कोने तक बिजली पहुंचाना किसी के बस की बात नहीं, हमने पहुंचा दी। सवाल उठे एनवायरमेंट फ्रेंडली गैस सब तक कैसे पहुंचेगी? हमने वो भी पहुंचा दी। कहा तो ये भी गया पैकेज फूड बिजनेस हमसे नहीं हो पाएगा, लेकिन हमने कर दिखाया। बातें उठी सीमेंट सेक्टर में हम कभी स्ट्रांग नहीं बन सकते, तो हमने सुना नहीं, बन के दिखाया। चर्चा हुई देश में इतना बड़ा पोर्ट बनाना असंभव, हमने संभव कर दिखाया। और जब कहा गया देश के एयरपोर्ट्स इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड्स के नहीं हो सकते, तब भी हमने सुना नहीं, कर दिए। मुश्किलों की नहीं सुनते, हम करके दिखाते हैं। अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
अभी और कितने चक्कर लगाने पड़ेंगे सर जी?
आप इतनी सी बात क्यों नहीं समझते सर जी? आप हमारा ध्यान रखो, हम आपका ध्यान रखेंगे।
ओ।
9501 200 200 ये
एंटी करप्शन एक्शन लाइन।
मैडम जी आप बेकार में परेशान हो रहे हो। मैं कराता हूँ ना 2 दिन में आपका काम। आप तो बस चढ़ावा चढ़ा देना, घर बैठे आ जाएगा आपका लाइसेंस। आपको ड्राइविंग टेस्ट की भी जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी।
पक्का?
पक्का जी पक्का।
तो आपने एक नंबर लिखिए, जब बन जाएगा तो उस पे कॉल करिएगा। 9501 200 200 एंटी करप्शन एक्शन लाइन।
अगर आपसे भी कोई रिश्वत मांगे तो कॉल करें 9501 200 200। एंटी करप्शन एक्शन लाइन से पिछले 1 साल में अब तक 300 से ज्यादा भ्रष्टाचारी गिरफ्तार हो चुके हैं। पंजाब में रिश्वत लेने वालों की अब खैर नहीं।
पंजाब के लोगों को ये संदेश देना चाहता हूँ, पंजाब को भ्रष्टाचार मुक्त बनाना हमारा वादा ही नहीं, गारंटी है।
तू है तो मुझे फिर और क्या चाहिए, तू है तो मुझे फिर और क्या चाहिए।
I'm a chameleon. It's my job to change color. But your wealth manager, well, they shouldn't be copying me, you know. You know that. Choose Nuvama. We only do what's right for you and your money. Nuvama. Let's do it right.
Cybercrime is rising, and with fraudsters getting more tax savvy and creative, authorities are having to work extra hard to keep up. The government cybercrime portal claims that on an average it receives 3,500 complaints of cyber fraud every single day. In our first installment of our new series, CyberCon, the cybercrime tracker, CNBC-TV18 Santiagora uncovers how India's rising comfort for online shopping and e-commerce is being exploited by sophisticated con persons. Take a look.
Forty-eight-year-old Isha Kashmiri is a businesswoman and hotelier. During the COVID-19 triggered lockdowns, she turned to online shopping and loved the ease this offered. But in 2020, Isha came across a shopping website which offered what appeared to be good quality products at extremely reasonable prices. She was in for disappointment.
That's when I, looked up the website on the net and checked the reviews. And I saw a lot of reviews which said that it's a scam. Site was on. It was, on the website. So I was sure that there were other people also who were going to purchase, who were going to get duped. And I thought that I should immediately try to do something about it.
Isha filed an FIR with the Mumbai police, and the Mumbai police cyber cell arrested the accused. The site was taken down and Isha got her money back. But not all victims of such cyber fraud are so lucky, nor are such online frauds restricted to online shopping websites. 30-year-old Dhwani Mehta is the chief community manager at Mumbai's famous studios. On the 17th of May, she came across a sick bird and wanted to help it. Her online search for bird rescue agencies threw up a website. She checked for obvious signs of fraud and found none. The site appeared genuine and secure. It even had a toll-free number. When she called the number, she did not get through, but she received a call back from another number and the person assured her of assistance. She was asked to fill out basic information for follow-up purposes. But when she did, the help never came. The bird died. 4 days later, on the 21st of May, she got an SMS from her bank saying 99,000 rupees had been debited from her account. But for Dhwani, filing a complaint was not as smooth.
For me to even file a regular FIR took about 7 hours. I was obviously sent across to various police stations across Mumbai, starting right from VP Road to Bombay Central to Worli and finally NM Joshi. It took about 10-12 days for my papers to even reach the NM Joshi police station.
Dhwani's case is still under investigation and she is yet to recover any of the money. But she is hopeful she'll get justice. Every state's police force has dedicated departments to look into such cases. In Mumbai, both the Maharashtra police and the Mumbai police have a cybercrime department. But these are swamped with cases. In Maharashtra alone, 2,236 cases of cyber frauds were registered between January 2023 and April 2023, against 8,244 cases filed through 2022. This 2022 number is more than double the 4,967 cases registered pre-pandemic in 2019. Cases have risen sharply at the national level as well. According to NCRB data, 27,248 cases of cyber fraud were filed across the country in 2018. This number rose to 44,735 in 2019, to 50,035 in 2020, and further to 52,974 in 2021. The officers in charge of these investigations say awareness is the best defense.
Don't go for any attempts or any offer by these cyber criminals regarding the shopping, regarding any product. Don't share your OTP to anyone. Don't share your bank PIN number, that is mobile PIN number, any PIN number to these cyber criminals.
But experts say a strong data protection law will be a big help. They say a lot of basic personal data is readily available with various service providers and can easily be bought and accessed by miscreants.
Unfortunately, all the big companies are relying on third parties. They have different vendors, they have different partners, and the data is freely shared with all of them. Although there are compliances they have to follow, but unfortunately that is not followed. So when in case of any data breach, any leak, all these data are compromised and these data are sold.
Cybercrime investigators also say that with technology improving, criminals are able to run more sophisticated cons and frauds. So people should beware of anything that seems suspicious or too good to be true. Cyber experts say there's a small window called the golden hour within which cyber frauds should be reported for the best results. They say the sooner a person files a police complaint, the better the chances of retrieving the money. Police advise that any victim should visit the National Cyber Crime Portal and file a complaint as soon as they realize that they have been defrauded. The second option is that they can call the National Cyber Crime Helpline number at 1930. They can also visit their nearest police station or head to dedicated stations set up to deal with cyber frauds. Of course, better infrastructure, more manpower and stricter laws will help, but awareness about such frauds and quick reporting is the first and crucial step in fighting cybercrime. In Mumbai, Santiagoda for CNBC-TV18.
That is just the first in our series where we will be tracking cybercrime. So a message to everyone, do not respond to unsolicited emails or SMSs or WhatsApp messages. Be very careful with the personal information that you give out, especially with regards to your bank OTP, with regards to your bank account details, etc. Do not share that with anyone that you do not know unless you have absolute confirmation on the identity of the person that you are sharing that with. This is all very personal and sensitive information and not to be shared with anybody. With that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. But before we go, here's news for students weighing their college options. As per the Education Ministry's latest rankings, IIT Madras remains India's top-ranked educational institute for the 5th time, followed by the Indian Institute of Sciences, Bengaluru. IIT Madras is also the top engineering college, followed by IIT Delhi and IIT Mumbai. Meanwhile, IISc Bengaluru emerged as the best university again, followed by Delhi's JNU and Jamia Millia Islamia. Indian Institute of Management Ahmedabad retaining the top spot among management colleges, followed by IIM Bengaluru and Kozhikode. AIIMS Delhi once again topping the list of medical colleges, retaining the same ranking since 2018. In the college category, Delhi University's Miranda House and Hindu College emerged as the top two.